name. There's a presence inside you that has no voice, no form, no name. It does not speak. It does not argue. It does not need to be understood. And yet it is always there, watching, listening, knowing. You've never seen it, but it sees everything. This is the silent knower, the presence behind thought, beyond identity, untouched by time. You don't create it. You don't become it. You are it. But the moment you try to grasp it, it slips. The moment you name it, it hides. Because it cannot be seen as an object. It can only be, and be known by being it. Let's pause here. Take a breath, not just to calm the body, but to notice what remains when the breath passes. What watches the breath? What notices the sound of these words right now? That watcher, that knowing, has no age, no color, no boundaries. It was here before your name. It will remain when the story ends. You may think, but I am the one thinking. That's the real me. But look closer. Can you see the thought arise? Can you observe it without judgment? Then who is observing? There is thought, and then there is the awareness of thought. The two are not the same. Most of us confuse the content of consciousness with its source. We believe we are our thoughts, our emotions, our sensations. But those things move, they flicker, they change, and yet something stays. Something watches the change, untouched by it. This is the core of every mystical tradition, the realization that there is a still point within you, not in space, not in time, but in being. The silent knower. It is not your mind, it is not even your sense of self. It is what remains when the mind stops, when the self dissolves, when even silence becomes a sound that fades. This isn't just poetic, it's perceptual. You can verify it right now, not by thinking harder, but by noticing the one who is already aware. Close your eyes, let thought come, let it go. And then, look behind the thought. Don't chase it, don't name it. Just be with the awareness that's always here. You may not feel anything special. That's okay. This presence doesn't need to feel like anything. It simply is. It is so close, so intimate, that we overlook it, like a fish who forgets it's in water, like an eye that cannot see itself. But just because it can't be seen doesn't mean it isn't real. In fact, it's the only thing that has never changed. Everything else, your body, your beliefs, your personality, your memories, all of it has shifted. But something has remained, something that knows, but does not speak, that sees, but does not act, that is, but has no name. It is not your thoughts. It is not even the thinker. It is the space in which thinking arises. Call it presence, call it awareness, call it God, soul, spirit, or call it nothing at all. It doesn't mind. It doesn't need a name to exist. In fact, it's what was present before language, before labels, before identity hardened into me. And here's the mystery. The moment you try to become the silent knower, you've already separated from it. Because it is not something you become, it is what you already are, beneath the becoming. So we let go. We stop grasping. We stop naming. We stop trying to capture presence like a butterfly in a jar. Instead, we sit, we watch, we allow. And in that allowing, we begin to sense it again. The gentle knowing, the unshakable presence, the stillness behind all thought. This is not a destination. It is the ground beneath your every step, the silence behind your every word, the stillness in the center of your storm. You don't have to find it. You only have to stop ignoring it. The mind is loud. It wants to be seen, heard, understood. It repeats itself. The mind is loud. It wants to be seen, heard, understood. It strategizes, worries, builds futures, repairs pasts. It is never still for long. But the silent knower? It doesn't speak in language. It speaks in being. And because it doesn't demand your attention, you overlook it. Because it doesn't move, you think it's not alive. Because it doesn't shout, you think it has nothing to say. But the deepest truths are not spoken. They are felt in the quiet folds of awareness, in the space between breaths, in the hush that remains when the inner noise finally fades. Let's go there. Close your eyes. not to shut the world out, but to soften the mind's grip on form. Let the thoughts come. Let them drift like clouds. And beneath those clouds, notice the sky. Still, vast, never moved by what passes through it. That sky is the silent knower. It doesn't stop the clouds. It doesn't cling to the sun. It simply allows. That's what awareness is. Not passivity, but radical openness. And it's always been here. Long before you learned your name. Long before you learned to say I. Even now, as you hear these words, that same presence is listening. Not your personality, not your thinking mind, but that which hears. It's not separate from you. It is you, in your truest, most formless state. Let's look at it another way. Have you ever had a moment where you stopped thinking? Maybe staring at a sunset. Maybe holding a newborn. Maybe lost in awe or beauty or grief. In that moment, there were no thoughts, no labels, no story. And yet, you were still you. Not as a thinker, not as a doer, but as pure being. The mind was quiet, and the knower remained. That's how you know it's real, because it doesn't need effort to exist. In fact, effort pulls you away from it. It is most visible when you stop striving. It shines when you stop trying to be someone, and in its light you remember something ancient. That you were never the roles you played. You were never the mask. You were never the voice. You were, and always have been, the one who sees. Not as an I, not as a self, but as awareness itself. This is the great mystery. You cannot observe the silent knower as an object, because it is what allows observation itself. You can't see it. You are it. Trying to observe awareness is like trying to bite your own teeth, or run faster than your own shadow. It's not meant to be seen. It's meant to be recognized, not with the mind, but with being. And once you recognize it, everything begins to shift. You stop identifying with every passing thought. You stop needing to hold on to every emotion. You stop mistaking the movement for the mover. You begin to rest in the witnessing itself. And in that resting, life slows down. Not because the world changes, but because you've stopped spinning with it. You become the stillness at the center of motion, the silence beneath the voice, the clarity inside the clouded mind. And that clarity isn't cold, it's warm, it's kind. Because when you no longer confuse yourself with your thoughts, you no longer judge them. You simply let them arise and fall, like waves in a sea that you no longer fear drowning in. The mind can be chaotic, but awareness is always calm. The mind grasps, awareness allows. The mind wants control, awareness simply is. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to silence the mind to find this awareness. You don't need to fight the thoughts. You don't need to chase enlightenment. You simply need to notice, to pause, to rest, to remember. You are not the contents of consciousness, you are the container. And this realization, though simple, is the doorway to everything. It doesn't solve your problems. It doesn't erase your past. But it gives you space. It gives you breath. It gives you the freedom to live without needing to be someone. Because when you know you are awareness itself, nothing can truly threaten you. Thoughts pass, feelings shift, identities crumble, but the knower remains, silent, still, unshaken. There's a knowing within you that does not think. It doesn't reason. It doesn't speak in words, but it is undeniably aware. It sees through your eyes but is not your eyes. It hears through your ears but is not your hearing. It witnesses your thoughts but is not a thought. It's like a mirror that reflects everything, yet remains unchanged. And this mirror is always clean, even when thoughts smear it with story, even when pain fogs the glass, even when identity clings like condensation on its surface. The knower does not fight the fog. It simply waits. It simply shines. This is not mystical poetry, as it's reality, stripped bare. Beneath the busy architecture of identity is clarity. Not a clarity you can grasp, but one you fall into. And when you do, even for a moment, the whole world begins to shift. Not because the external changes, but because your relationship to it does. You realize you don't have to react to every thought. You don't have to believe every emotion. You don't have to hold every moment together with mental glue. You can let go, because something deeper is already holding it. You're not falling into nothing. You're falling into being. Pure, still, formless being. The silent knower does not care who you've been. It doesn't hold your past against you. It doesn't need you to be healed or complete or whole. It already sees you as whole. Because from its perspective, you've never been broken. All suffering begins in the story. The mind's interpretation of pain, loss, identity, time. But awareness itself? It carries no narrative. It doesn't need one. It meets what is, fully, directly, gently, without resistance, without grasping, without needing it to be different. And this meeting is freedom. Not the loud kind of freedom, not the kind with fireworks and declarations, the quiet kind, the kind that simply watches, breathes, allows. Because when you rest in the silent knower, you no longer need life to validate your existence. You already exist, before the thought, before the label, before the memory. You are. This is why spiritual teachers speak in paradoxes. You are not the body, yet the body is not separate from you. You are the witness, and yet there is no separate self to do the witnessing. You are nowhere and everywhere. You are nothing and everything. Because the knower can't be understood by the mind, it can only be recognized by presence. And in that recognition, something shifts. Not dramatically, but fundamentally. The ground you used to walk on, the one made of personality, preferences, and plans, gives way to space. Not emptiness, but spaciousness. Room to breathe, room to feel, room to exist without pressure. You begin to see the world differently, not as something to conquer, not as a mirror for your success or failure, but as a dance of impermanence happening within this infinite field of awareness, a field that you are not in, but are. And suddenly, time slows. Not because the clock ticks differently, but because you are no longer racing ahead of the present moment. You are inside it. More accurately, you are it. Because the silent knower is not apart from the now, it is now. It's not waiting. It's not searching. It's simply here, as the space through which life appears. So breathe with it, not to reach a goal, not to calm your mind, but to notice the one who notices the breath. Let awareness be aware of itself. Let silence echo back its own stillness. And in that loop, in that infinite reflection, you'll find something that can't be named. Because it's not a thing. It's what allows all things. It's not inside you, because it has no location. It's not outside you, because there's no separation. It simply is, and you simply are. That's the final truth. Not a truth to memorize, but a truth to fall into, again and again, until the idea of separation fades, until the need for identity softens, until what remains is what's always been. Not a person, not a thinker, not a self, but presence, being, awareness, the silent knower, watching without watching, knowing without thought, existing without name. There comes a moment when even the spiritual search exhausts itself, not because you've found the answer, but because you've realized there was never a question. The one who was searching, the one who wanted awakening, liberation, peace, was itself a movement of the mind. And beneath that movement, still untouched, the silent knower remained. It has always been here, not waiting, not hiding, simply being. It's not interested in achievement. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't care if you're enlightened or confused, broken or brilliant, because it doesn't judge, it doesn't measure, it doesn't even think. It simply is. And that isness, that quiet, formless presence, is your true nature. The moment this becomes more than an idea, everything shifts. Life becomes less like a problem to solve and more like a river to float in. You no longer need to figure it out. You begin to trust the current, to trust the now, to trust what is. And you find that awareness, the silent knower, is not separate from the world. It doesn't sit above it, untouched. It moves through it, animating it, witnessing it, holding it all in compassionate space. This is the paradox of presence. It is both emptiness and intimacy. It holds nothing, and yet it contains everything. It has no edges, and yet it meets all things precisely where they are. And so you begin to live differently, more softly, more presently, more freely, not because you've changed, but because you've returned. Returned to what you were before the story began, before the mind learned to name, divide, define, before the eye tried to carve out a separate space in a seamless field. You see now, there is no edge, not between you and the breath, not between you and the world, not between you and the sacred. All of it arises within the field of awareness, and that awareness is not a part of you. It is you, the real you, the timeless you, the unnameable presence that existed before the mind began whispering, "This is me." Now the whisper is quiet. Now the striving has softened. What remains? A kind of love, not the emotional kind, not the romantic kind, but a spacious, unconditional openness that says, yes, this too. Yes to thought. Yes to silence. Yes to grief, to joy, to the ordinary and the divine. Because now, the world no longer needs to prove anything. Now even your ego can rest. It doesn't need to be killed, only seen. Gently, lovingly, seen through. The self still arises. You still play roles, wear names, feel waves of emotion. But something's different. You're no longer inside the story. You are the screen it's playing on. The dream still unfolds, but you've stopped mistaking the dreamer for the dream. And in that moment, peace. Not the peace of perfect circumstances, but the peace of perfect presence. And presence needs nothing. It does not become. It only ever is. So let this be your invitation, not to seek, but to stop, to rest, to notice, to fall backward, into the awareness that has been watching your entire life unfold, like a dance it never needed to direct. You were never apart from it. You only believed you were, and that belief is gone now. What's left is the silent knower, still, vast, nameless. Here, it doesn't speak, it doesn't need to, because now, you remember. Next time on the Beyond the Self series, we explore, you were never the doer, the illusion of control. Until then, stay curious, stay conscious. If this stirred something inside you, subscribe, like, and share this with a fellow seeker.